Hello, everyone. This is Tracy Griffin and Tauryn Carter, and we're here with Griffin Wellness Solutions, another episode today, and we're talking today about nutrition. Today, I'm going to call her Chef Carter. Is that okay?
That's okay.
We'll call her Chef Carter, and we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition. And just to tell you a little bit about Tauryn, I'll let her tell you more. But she's a graduate of Johnson and Wales University, and she studied nutrition. And I thought it was great to have her come on today and talk to us a little bit about what the things we need to do as far as proper diet and things of that nature. So here we are, Tauryn. Welcome to this episode, and I also thank you for coming on today. Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you for having me. I am,
Absolutely.
of course, honored to be here. Honored to be your niece and honored to be featured here with you today.
Double, double. I feel the same way. And I know you've had a long day today, so I want to make sure we get on and we talk about some key things and then let you get an opportunity to get some rest. How about that?
Sounds great. We
Sounds
all need
great.
that rest.
We all need our rest. Absolutely. So, Torrin, I'm going to ask you the first question. What inspired you to pursue an education and career in nutrition and cooking?
So cooking started when I was young. I used to cook a lot with my grandmother growing up, and my mom let me get in the kitchen pretty early, of course, with supervision. And as I started to grow a little bit more, I was never a fan of leftovers. And my mom presented me with the opportunity to be able to cook my own food, if I wasn't so excited about what we were having for dinner. So I kind of jumped on that opportunity and, really liked experimenting in the kitchen and things like that. And as I made it to high school, I considered some other career options, but I kind of settled on cooking in my senior year of high school. And so I went and worked at a restaurant just to try it out, to see if that's where I really wanted to invest my time and, really uh, invest in going to school for cooking. And I
Mhm.
decided that I wanted to. I chose Johnson and Wales because at the time it was one of the very few, if not only, universities that offered a 4-year program. Most culinary and pastry programs are only a 2-year associate's degree,
Mhm.
and Johnson and Wales gave you the opportunity to stay for 4 years and specialize in something, on top of your cooking knowledge. And so that's why I chose Johnson and Wales. So, if you typically eat a bigger lunch, maybe you have a salad and then you also have a stir fry with some chicken. So, you're getting a lot of different vegetables, your lean protein in the chicken, and then you also have some salad there to kind of, also help hydrate you a little bit because there's a lot of water content in lettuces. And then again, you're mixing the different vegetables together.
And water plays a big part of our diet too during the course of the day, making sure we're staying hydrated, right?
hmm Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Not only trying to chug a bottle of water all the time, but also considering, there are a lot of foods that have, good water content, so that can kind of help you meet your goals throughout the day. So you don't feel like you have to sit there with that jug of water and try to get to
huh.
whatever your goal may be as far as staying hydrated.
So it's a combination. So if you consume foods that are high in water
Mhm.
content, right, then it's not necessary for you to drink a lot of water. Then. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, they should be complementary.
Okay.
Um, you're not necessarily going to feel super hydrated after you eat something like, say, a cucumber has pretty good water content to it, but it is adding to the water content that is in your body,
You're consuming for the day.
as
Okay.
long as well as that 2 bottles of water that you consumed before you had, your celery stick and carrot stick snack.
Mhm. So what foods should I avoid then?
You want to avoid sugars as much as possible. You want to avoid fried
Mhm.
foods. You want to avoid like I said, the simple grains, the white rice, the pasta, the um, the creamy, the buttery, the cheesy, a lot of that
All of
stuff you
the
want to
things
stay
that you
away
find
from.
in the fast food restaurants, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what you want to stay from, or at the very, or at least limit. I know we all have our favorites, right? And we all have our comfort foods, and many of us grew up eating one way that we're trying to retrain ourselves out of.
Mhm.
Now that we know better and we know how to, and we're getting better ideas of how to move ourselves out of that direction and be healthier. But you still have that little piece of you that you like grandma's mac and cheese on Thanksgiving, or,
Yep,
things of that nature.
yep.
So maybe trying to dedicate that one or two servings of mac and cheese just to Thanksgiving, instead of it being something that you always order when you go out to a restaurant, or you make every Sunday at home.
Mhm,
Trying to relegate it to just a certain time of year, or I'm only going to have it once a month,
mhm.
so that way you can try to reduce that intake.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Interesting. So sounds like you learned a whole lot at Johnson and Wales over the years, and the job that you're doing today. Do you still learn a lot as you do your job today?
Certainly,
You do.
certainly. Yeah, no, it's a constant learning process.
Mhm,
Things are ever changing, as
mhm,
it relates to food, as it relates to nutrition.
mhm,
People are ever changing. I mean, we have an array of diets. I can imagine, maybe when you were a child, that the amount of options as far as food items, diets that you could be on, maybe weren't as great as they are now. But there's so many considerations to take in my job, especially, even considering people with different dietary restrictions now. It's not as simple
mhm,
as just making one meal for everybody. You have to ask the question: are there any allergies? Can you not have this? Some people want to stick to their special diet, so you have to be cognizant of that and consider their needs. So for
mhm.
sure, I mean, it's always a growing, always a learning process.
This time of the year that we're in the holidays and we had just so much food. We're so used to so much food in front of us.
Mhm.
We just got through with Thanksgiving, but now we're going to go into Christmas, and I'm sure people are going to have folks over, even though it's the COVID season. But there's just so much to choose from. So, is it okay to just kind of pile everything on your plate and eat, or what's the best way to handle that when you have
Um,
so much in front of you that you like and enjoy?
I wouldn't say pile it on. It's never really a great place to start. So a lot of times our eyes are bigger than our stomach anyway. And I wouldn't advise waiting until that meal time to eat anything, right? Because then that's when you are going to, if you decide not to eat any meals before
Mhm.
dinner is ready or Christmas dinner is ready, you're definitely going to overeat. Then you're going to have, you're going to kind of feel maybe not sick to your stomach, but you might be a little uncomfortable after you eat that plate. Even though you enjoyed it, you're going to feel a little uncomfortable after.
Sleepy?
What'd you say?
Sleepy?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So something that I would suggest, which I spoke about with a friend before, is setting mealtime a little bit earlier in the day. Starting, maybe typically you'll serve around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. Maybe try, it might be a little bit different for everybody, but maybe try 2 or 3 o'clock. And then just start small. If there's turkey and ham, take a little turkey, take a little mashed potato, take a vegetable, enjoy that, and then move on to something else.
Okay.
Almost treat it as like a tasting of everything.
Yeah.
Don't pile it up, but like give yourself time to enjoy. If you can wait a few minutes in between, just to allow that kind of first round of food to digest. Um, I know a lot of times when we get together and there's a lot of people, you want to just grab what you're going to grab because you don't want to miss out on anything. But I think it's really better for the body, when you are going to indulge in all of those richer foods, that you kind of like slowly, you pace yourself. You
Mhm,
take a little bit of time
mhm.
and, go for a round one, give yourself a little break, go for a round two,
Yeah.
kind of try to break it up if you can. If you can put, a couple hours in between the second plate, even better. allowing your body to kind of digest that food and, you know, I wouldn't say it's not a fresh start, but, you know, making
Mhm.
a little more space
Mhm.
for the food that you're going to eat after instead of kind of gorging yourself on that first plate.
Oh, that's very good. Now, I don't know how we got into this conversation about all these different types of foods and that, going in the supermarket. It is the season where we're in the restaurants and, we're out and we're inviting people over. But, I also wanted to talk a little bit about supplements.
Mhm.
There's this big thing going on right now with people taking supplements and so many different supplements on the market. Um, what's your spin on supplements?
So, first and foremost, there's a couple things. One, I would always say to consult with your doctor. I
Mhm.
know there's a lot of, like you said, there's tons of supplements on the market. There are tons of diet programs and even health focused programs that, you know, push a lot of supplements to help in, you know, the program that's been designed. So, number one is definitely talk to your physician, your doctor,
Mhm.
healthcare provider. Um, and that's most important because, you know, speaking from the Black community, where I know we have a lot of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, and other comorbidities that exist,
Mhm.
um, there can be issues with what they call a drug nutrient interaction. And what that means is something that you might be taking already might
Mhm.
not get along well with one of those supplements that you add to your diet.
Wow.
And so you have to kind of be careful of those things. So one of the examples I can give, because my mom, you know, had asked me recently about sea moss gel. I know that that's gained a lot of traction recently, and it's become very popular. And one of the things reading through it is it's supposed to help reduce blood pressure.
Mhm.
However, if you are someone who is already taking a blood pressure pill, it can
Mhm.
reduce your blood pressure too low, which is dangerous. So those are the kind of things, you know, where you just don't want to blindly move into
Yeah, you know.
supplementation without knowing how it's going to affect other things going on.
Mhm.
Um, After that, I would say just being aware of what type of vitamins you're taking, meaning there are water soluble vitamins and fat soluble vitamins. So the water soluble dissolve in water and fat soluble dissolve in fat. So most of the vitamins aside from A, D, E, and K are going to be water soluble, which
Mhm.
means that once your body has what it needs, it's going to excrete the water soluble vitamins, right? But the fat soluble vitamins are going to hang around longer. And so the thing that you can run into trouble with there is that you have an excess of those vitamins. So something like vitamin D, which, you know, when you hear about seasonal depression, you know, sometimes people are prescribed vitamin D, which, you know, under a doctor's supervision, of course, is fine. But if your vitamin D levels are already fine and the particular diet program that you're on is pushing vitamin D, that's something that you need to be cognizant of, that you're sticking to, you know, recommendations as far as how much you should take.
Excuse me. I didn't know anything about that, but I know that vitamin D, you also get that from the sun as well, right?
Yeah.
Lots of sun exposure.
Yeah.
Um,
And you know, I mean, again, for me personally, and I think that most physicians would tell you, you want to go with food first.
food.
That's where most nutrients are going to be more bioavailable, which
Mhm.
means that your body's going to more easily absorb them in that state.
Mhm.
Supplementations generally are going to be your secondary or tertiary option. And those are typically going to be because you have an identified deficiency, or they can be used to fill in the gaps of your, you know, overall nutrition and health. So if there's something that you just really cannot get enough of it, then maybe it is good to supplement.
Right.
um, but we always want to try to get it from food first.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. So, if you had to send a message out to the world through this social media platform, what would be the last thing you would want to say before we end the conversation, as far as healthy cooking, healthy eating, and nutritional tips?
I guess I would say don't consider healthy eating and healthy cooking a punishment.
Hmm.
It is a lifestyle. It should be a lifestyle change that you make. It's not a temporary thing. Because when you look at diets and stuff, when you engage in a diet, you have to consider the plan afterward, right? When you're on diets, they generally have a very strict set of rules that you're following. But once you get off of that diet, it's so easy to revert back to your old habits. And then all the work that you've done on these diets, is then it's gone.
Yeah.
So think of this as it's the lifestyle, making gradual changes. Don't stop eating all sugar today. I don't advise that. I don't advise anybody to just completely cut off any one
Yeah.
thing today,
Hmm.
because by tomorrow you'll be eating a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts,
Yeah.
you don't want to deprive yourself. So allow it to be a gradual thing over time where you make adjustments and you figure out what works for you, and if you want something that you like, you can have it. But, you just want to, consistency is key. Practicing every day or trying to make the better choice as much as you can, for the long term really is the most important. But at the end of it, make sure you enjoy, what you're doing, what you're eating, how you're moving. So that way, in the long term, life is good.
Yeah, I think you hit on a key word is key phrase is a lifestyle change. If we get into the habit of eating wrong over these years, and now we go to the doctor, or we get a physical, and we don't quite like the results that we see. Now the doctor's recommending we do this, this, and that. And in many cases, the doctor says you need to go on this medicine, or
Mhm.
you need to do this and that. But what we really need to do is make sure that we're changing our diet. It's a lifestyle change that we should be paying attention to what we eat in the morning. We should be paying attention to what we eat during the course of the day, how much of a serving size that we eat during the
Mhm.
course of the day. And we shouldn't eat heavy at night before we go to bed. All these things come into play. And we
Mhm.
talk about a lifestyle change, and if we get used to constantly eating that way, that's when everything changes on us, because our body will kind of heal themselves, wouldn't they?
Right. Correct. I
Yeah.
mean, your body is going to follow your lead,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
But it's also going to tell you when it's not happy.
Yep.
And it's also going to tell you when it's happy. And you'll notice the difference.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, it's lifestyle. And so I think lifestyle means over time, and you can adjust at any time.
Yeah.
Um, you don't have to figure out what works for you, everything that works for you today, and
Mhm.
keeping an open mind to trying different things.
Yeah.
One of my examples always with trying different things is, you know, food preparations can change your perception of something. So something like Brussels sprouts. Most people that I know can't stand Brussels sprouts, but they grew up eating them. Mom or dad would make them boiled and maybe put a little butter and salt on them, and that was that. But you can roast them.
Yeah.
Roasting adds so much more flavor. You can do something like roasted Brussels sprouts with sauteed
Mm.
onions and maybe some dried cranberries and a balsamic drizzle. You can
Go,
make it
Torrin.
more than just plain boiled vegetable, because that's not
Yeah.
exciting to anybody. Even the
Yeah.
healthiest eater, that's not exciting too. So
Mm.
there's ways to spice it up a little bit and not go overboard, but make it a little bit more exciting for you.
You took the words out of my mouth. I think you made some Brussels sprouts for me once before. That's what got me hooked to them. I don't think I really liked Brussels sprouts before you cooked them.
Really, I don't know if I knew that, but
Huh?
I'm glad. I'm glad I could help you try something new.
And now I make my own Brussels sprouts. I roast them and I put honey on them, and
Exactly.
pretty good. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
you're
And
welcome.
thank you for this interview, and thank you for your time here today, Torrin.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed myself. I was excited to talk to you and very
Absolutely.
happy to see where you're going with your health and nutrition journey.
Well, let's hope that we can really help a lot of people out, because we know we have so many people who, there's a lot to learn. I'm learning so much even myself, but we're taught in a lot of ways, we're taught to eat the wrong way,
Hmm.
and we're trying to reverse that a bit so that we don't have the high blood pressure, we don't have the high cholesterol, and we don't have diabetes and things of that nature. So people like you and me opening up and creating a space where you can come and have that conversation. Hopefully, it touches the lives of many people. So, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep studying, and will you come back someday and talk to us
Absolutely.
again?
I
All
hope to come back and tell you so much more.
All right, all right. Well, let's do that then. So I want to end this conversation, and I want to say thank you again. And this is Tracy Griffin and Tauryn Carter, and we're talking nutrition today on this episode. Griffin Wellness Solutions. You can like us on Facebook at Griffin Wellness Solutions. You can visit the website and find out many other things about health and wellness. So thank you again, and have a great night.
Thank you.